Welcome back to Limb Driven TV. Today we're going to be going over how to use a field point test pack with a traditional bow. Here I have a new bow that I ended up trading, a right-handed bow for another left-handed bow. It's a Little Crow Raven. It's actually built here in northern Minnesota, and it's a good little bow. I like it. I think it's 47, it might be 44, the writing is kind of sloppy, but either way, it's a lower poundage bow than what I'm used to, and I figure it's a great time to take some of the arrows I got from Grizzly Stick, the VF TKOs that they have on their website for the red line package, and see what type of tune I can get from this bow with the 400 spine VF TKO. So I have all the field points, 315, 200, 150, I believe a 125. Have to check here, and it'll be those, and then we're going to go through the process of taking our field points and searching out what is going to be optimal up front for this particular arrow. So stay tuned, make sure you guys have a notebook, pen ready if you need to, and let's get to work. First order of business here before we start anything, and it's something I've said in several videos, and that's we need to use our bow square here to check what our brace height is, and I always write it down. I mean, I can remember it, but if you use the same bow over and over and you're changing strings and you're doing, yada yada, just write it down. Like if you think you're going to end up forgetting, write it down. Like we need to know what this is at. For me, I put all my bows at 8 1/4. So I'm going to check this and I'm going to make sure that it's at 8 1/4. We can see here it's at 8 1/4. I like this spot. It's where I'm comfortable and that's where I'm going to stay for all of my bows. Alright, so I have the bear shaft. It's full length, 400 spine, VF TKO, and I have 125 grain point, and I'm just going to kind of shoot these and show you guys the results. So I'm going to start with the 125, we'll go to the 150, then the 200, then the 315, and we'll see how that arrow is reacting, and we'll talk from there what our options are. So 125 we're going to start with first. Obviously for this, we're at 3 yards, it's a starting point, so I always say, about 3 yards. We're going to shoot shoulder height. We want to make sure that we're not affecting where that knocking point is at. We want to make sure that if it's knock high or knock low, we can make note of that. So we need to be shooting shoulder height. And we need to make sure that we're doing proper shot execution. Obviously, we're not going to yank it, torque it. If I make a bad shot, it's on me to make that call and say, oh, okay, yeah, whatever that arrow result was, it's nothing, it was my fault. So we need to make sure we're being mindful of those things. So, like I said, 125, here we go. With this particular arrow, full length with the 125 is stiff. So one of the best solutions for this, and I don't want to touch the brace height yet, my best solution for this is going to be to up your point weight. So we can't do much with a stiff arrow. Like we want weak. I have a shorter draw length, I'm around 28 inches, so I can cut an arrow down. But if an arrow is full length, there's nothing I can do. Like I need to increase the point weight. So let's check out what it is with the 150 grain point. Now we bumped up to the 150 and this looks perfect. Normally this would be like, yes, you want a 150 grain point. However, I have a total arrow weight that I like to hit, so it does get more complex. That's where we have to start looking at our draw length. If you can't cut your arrow down, this is what you have to be done with. And if you wanted to use a 200 or a 315 grain point, you need to move up a spine and you need to repeat this process, how we went, how we took different point weights. I realize we only use 2, but you get the point. It would be the lightest, oh, it's stiff. The next one, oh, it's good. The next one, oh, it's weak. For me, I need to hit a total arrow weight of around 600. That's just what I want. So that is going to mean I need a 315 grain point. I can maybe get away with 200, but I want to check how weak does this get if I go to those point weights. So now let's go to the 200 and let's see how weak it is. And we'll go from there. Alright, so the 200 grain point is obviously a little bit knocked to the right, which for me, just keep in mind, I'm a left-handed shooter, so this is weak. So we're money, we're good. I have like a 28-inch draw length, and these arrows full length are 31.5. So if I wanted to use this field point weight, I can cut off the back, and then I'm able to use it. Before we do that, I want to see where the 315 lands, because if I'm able to use that, I want to be able to use that. So let's use the 315 and then we'll kind of regroup and make a plan. This is with the 315 grain point. Good thing it didn't move much. I'm huddled in the doorway about as much as I can be. It's more knock right, so it's definitely weaker, but the change really wasn't much. So now I'm going to just, with this much, I'll probably cut, I'll probably cut a 1/2 inch off. I'll start with that because it is full length, and I know that me shooting at 3 yards, if I backed up, like cutting a 1/2 inch off to make a difference at 3 yards is nothing. Like if I was at 20 yards and it was this much, we're talking just tiny little amount that would make a big difference. So I'm gonna start with a 1/2 inch, we'll kind of see what happens. But again, because I have a short draw length, I know that I can cut a little bit off this arrow and I'm still good. I'm not gonna have the broadhead run into my hand. Again, if you can't cut your arrows and we're this weak, that's not good. We need to move up a spine class, and then we'll have to figure out what we're going to use for our field point. So I'm gonna cut a 1/2 inch off, we'll see where we're at. So I cut off a 1/2 inch and it definitely moved over. Now it looks like when I had it full length and I shot the 200 grain point. So I'm going to cut another 1/2 inch off, and I would assume it's going to look similar to what it was when I had the 150 grain point, which was perfect. So that would be ideal. So let's check out what it looks like when I cut another inch off, or 1/2 inch off the back. It'll be a total of 1 inch. Again, I cut that extra 1/2 inch off, and look at that, it's right in line. And for how much space I have here, I shot it at 3 yards, and it was this, and I did jump ahead. I ended up backing up, and this was at, we only get like maybe 8 yards out of this little indoor shop. So I shot this at 8 yards, and it's still perfect. And from here, I would want to back up to 15 and back up to 20 if I could, but it's winter here. I'm in Wisconsin, otherwise I'm in Minnesota, and it's like, I'm not gonna go outside and do that. Normally, I like to bare shaft tune out to 20, but let's talk skill. I've been bare shaft tuning for a number of years now, and I have my release down. Doesn't really matter what bow I use, I know I'm going to be able to execute a good release. And I'm used to doing the tuning process. If you are new and you don't know if you're able to do a good enough release to give you consistent results, work on it a lot, and blind bail shoot and get to the point that you can do like a bare shaft tune at 3 yards at least, and maybe back it up to being, 10 yards. And if we can, the further back you go, the more precise your arrow tune is. So that's just important to talk about with this. Now I'm able to use a 315 grain point with this particular arrow, and I know my total arrow weight is going to be around that 600 grain mark, which is what my goal was. You can see here I ended up taking 1 inch off of these arrows, and obviously, like I said, it still works with what my draw length is. It's a 40-something pound bow, and I have 400 spine arrows, and it works great with just the standard insert. I did do a footer. This is a good build. This is a build that I'm going to be confident with in whitetail, and it's really tuned. It's not exactly what I want, but it was able to put me where I needed to be based on what the field points were. If you guys have questions about how to accomplish this style of tuning, as always, drop it down in the comments. You can always find us on Facebook at Limb Driven TV. Find the field point test packs on Three Rivers Archery. You just search it, field point test pack, and it'll show up. I think Grizzly Stick is actually the supplier for them on their website, but you won't find it on the Grizzly Stick website anymore. Other places to go would be dynamicarcherysolutions.com or Danger Close Outdoors. So there's a bunch of different resources you guys can get field point test pack from. They're very cheap, and it's a lifetime investment. If I'm going to tune, I'm always going to use my field point test pack to find out, does this work? Does this spine work? Typically, I have an idea of what broadheads I want to use. For me, I'm choosing the Nanook by Grizzly Stick, and that's what I want to use, and that's 315. So if I use a 315 and I start tuning these and I go, geez, like I'm getting close to where this arrow is too short and it's not tuning, then I know, oh, I need to bump up a spine, and the full length of that spine will probably work. So some of this is experience and trial and error. So like I said, if you just want to guess on where to start, and then you get the field point test pack and you know that spine will work at some point, just reach out and find us on Facebook. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and post any comments if you guys have questions. Thanks.